How's it going, everybody? Welcome back to Voro Motors. I'm AJ Hart with another guide to maintain your ride. Now for today's video, we've got a nice easy fix. We're going to be going over how to replace the rear fender on the EMOVE Cruiser. This is probably the easiest fix I've had to do so far, so I'm sure you won't have any issues following along. Now the first thing that we're going to do is remove the fender. There's going to be 4 screws on the front and 1 screw on each side that's taken off with an Allen wrench, making a total of 6 screws you need to remove. Then take a dead blow hammer and nudge it off the front. Now it's time to remove the back light. Take a small Allen wrench, it should be the same size as the Allen wrench you used before, and remove the screw on the right light. Also, we recommend grabbing a pair of scissors and removing this zip tie. Now take a dead blow hammer and just nudge it off of the back. Now that all the cables are free, it's time to remove the fender on the back. Take an Allen wrench and remove all 4 of the screws on the back here. When you remove them, make sure that you put the screws off to the side and keep them in a safe place. You're going to need them to fasten the new fender down at the end of the job. Now we're going to identify which cable is the rear light. Once we figured it out, we're going to go ahead and mark that cable with a piece of tape. Now that we know which cable is important, we're going to go ahead and take the controller out of the scooter. When you pull it out, you're going to notice that there's a bunch of cables. Before we go any further, we want to remove all 3 of these power cables. Now, since we marked the rear fender, we're going to go ahead and follow that cable and find out where it connects to the controller. Once we see where it's connected, we're going to go ahead and disconnect it. You'll notice that the wires and pins that you have on your new fender will match the wires on this connector. Go ahead and unplug it and run it back up and out the scooter. Now that it's out and we have a little bit more wiggle room, it's time to start removing those pins. Take something small and thin and start to push at the base of each of these pins. We want to remove them from the connector while not damaging the connector itself, because the new fender is going to use the same connector. Grab something small and thin and push at the base of these pins and you should be able to pop them out without too much difficulty. Just make sure that you're careful because you don't want to damage this connector. Now that the connector's free, we're going to want to put that someplace safe. Now you can take the old fender cable and remove it from the scooter, pull it all the way out the back. When you remove the fender, again make sure that you know where all 4 of those screws are. Now it's time to put the new one on. Just drop it over the top of the wheel and bring the cable down under the shock. When you pull the cable down, make sure that you slide it through this little notch on the fender to make sure that it fits flush against the scooter. Now we're going to go ahead and feed the cable through the light housing. Before we feed this cable through the body, we're going to go ahead and tape it up so that we keep all of these pins safe. Now that it's taped up, we're going to go ahead and push it through the body of the scooter. Now that it's on the other end, we're going to go ahead and remove the tape. Now grab that connector again because it's time to connect the pins. Go ahead and plug them into the same order that they were arranged in when you removed it. It should complement the exact same colors of the other connector. Yellow to yellow, green to green, brown to brown, and so on. When you're pushing it in, you should feel a small pop, so you know it's locked into place. Now that they're all connected, we're going to go ahead and push this cable through this little gap in the scooter housing. Pull it down and through, and then connect it to the controller again. We're also going to start putting the controller back. Feed the power through this little hole, and then feed the rest of the cable and the controller up into the body. Now that we're done messing with some of the electrical stuff, we're going to go ahead and plug the battery in again. Green to green, yellow to yellow, and blue to blue. Now that it's all plugged in, we're going to go ahead and make sure that the fender light works. Looks good to me. Now we're going to put it all back together. We're going to start with the front fender. We're going to line it up to the front and then just screw it back on. Again, 4 screws on the front and 1 screw on each side. In case you're confused about which screw is going to go on the front fender, there should be 2 of these little Allen wrench screws that have a smooth outside on the circular part. That's going to be the one that you use for the front fender. Now, we're going to put the backlight on. Go ahead and line that up, take a dead blow hammer, and nudge that into the correct spot. Once it's lined up correctly, we're going to go ahead and screw that in with the Allen wrench. If you can, we also recommend replacing that zip tie that we had removed earlier on this job. Now it's time to finish the job. Go ahead and screw down all 4 of those screws on the rear fender. So far. If you have any questions or concerns that came up while you were operating on your scooter, go ahead and drop those questions into the comments down below. If you have any ideas for other videos you'd like to see us do in the future, go ahead and drop those into the comments down below too. Thank you so much for watching. We hope that this helps, and we hope that you enjoy your ride.